This is a review of last week's class. So last week we made 3D views and we added materials to our objects so that they would read more like we might want them to read, or we also did some fun materials to try out like a new wallpaper. So I want to make sure to review that. The first thing we want to do is be in our default 3D view. So if you come up here to the little house and click on it, that'll bring it up. You might not have this box. If you don't, click outside so you're in your view, go to your properties browser, and scroll down and click on where it says section box. So if yours looks like this, if you click on section box, this will allow you to drag in the sides of it and limit what your view looks like. So you don't have to look at everything. You can just look at this little part. Great. So let's start out by changing material of our walls. So unlike in SketchUp where you can paint the outside of this with a material and it's kind of a flat surface effect, in Revit it's important to change your materials in the object itself. That way it actually knows what it is. So for example, if I click on this wall and go to edit type, actually, let's change all these walls first. So first of all, it's a wall type, right? So if I tab on here, so if I want to select all these walls, I hover over it until it's blue, and then I hit tab, click, and I can select all of them at once. So if I come over here and change my wall, you'll notice that there's a number of built-in partitions that represent real kinds of walls, so real ways that walls are constructed. So we've been using these generic walls that just have a certain thickness, but if we were to put brick on metal stud, for example, you'll notice that my material changed to brick, and that might not be the color I want or whatever, but it also changed the composition of this wall. So if I click on it and go to edit type, and where it says structure, click on that, it's going to tell me all the layers that are in that wall. So I have a brick on the outside that's 3 5/8 inches, an air gap, an air barrier, a sheathing, which is plywood, a metal stud layer, that's our main structural layer, a vapor retarder on the interior, and finally gypsum wallboard all the way on the inside. So it calculates, it adds up all these thicknesses to give us this 1 foot 1 7/8 thickness. It's important that we change the material in the wall type because it will change it universally. So all the walls that are the same type will change at the same time. And also because often that material can be used then for, it can be used to calculate things. So for example, each of over up here it says like thermal mass, thermal resistance. So that we won't get into using these features, it can actually calculate how cold it is on the outside, how warm it is on the inside, what the difference that wall makes to that transition. So, okay, so first way is you can change the material by changing the type. So if I tab, click all my walls at once and come over here, I can pick one of these that are already set up. For example, EIFS on metal stud. EIFS is like a it kind of looks like plaster, so it's like a type of wall panel. Or I can come over here and I can change it to CMU insulated, which is going to be like a concrete block. So that's one way to change my material. If I want to make more of a custom material, I'm going to tab on here. I'm going to change this and go to my EIFS on metal stud. And now let's say I want to have a wallpaper with corgis on it. That's going to be painted onto my building. That's going to look like the outside of my building. So I'm going to click on one of these and go to edit type. And here I'm going to duplicate this and call it corgis. EIFS on metal stud. I'm going to come over here to my structure, hit edit, and then this finish one I want to change. So I'm going to click on the dot. Over here, I want to duplicate my material. So I should be able to right click on it, hit duplicate, and I'm going to give it a name, corgis. Okay, once I'm here, I want to change what the appearance is in rendering mode. So I'm going to come over here to appearance, one thing that's important is right here, you need to click on this little button that duplicates the asset. Otherwise, it will change all the other ones that share the same kind of look. So it's a weird little trick here, but you need to click on duplicates this asset. Then over here, it looks like it's not giving me a whole lot of options on this. This is only allowing me to paint it. So I could change the paint. And that'll change my wall color. But what I really want to do, I really want to have an image instead. So I'm actually going to make a new material. So scrap this one. I'm going to click here for create a new material. And this one I'm going to rename and just call it corgis. Okay, so now that I have this new material, I'm going to come back to appearance. Again, click on this little duplicate thing. And then here where it says image, I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to pick an image to put on there. So I need to download one. So if I go to the internet, I'm going to look up corgis. And let's use, let's use this guy with the white background. So if I click on here, and obviously I'm downloading a dog picture, but you could download a print of a wood wall. You could download a pattern, like a marble you might like, and we can try that for something else. But for this, I'm going to download this. So I'm going to right click, save image as. I'm going to save it to my desktop so I can find it. Can I find my desktop is a good question. This PC, desktop. Okay, so once I've saved that, I should be able to find it here. And I'm going to hit open, and you'll notice it pops up here. Automatically, it will tile. And let's just see what that looks like right now. So if I hit OK, and then OK again, you'll notice that these corgis all on the side. If I want to tile it, this maybe is too small for me. I want to be able to control that size. So if I click on the wall again, go back to edit type, back to structure edit. Oh, one other thing. If you're over here and the materials aren't changing, it might be because your visual settings are different than mine. So if you come down to this bar down here, I think automatically it's on hidden line. You want to change this to be on realistic so that you can see the patterns. Okay, so I'm going to click on my wall, edit type, edit structure, come back to my corgis material, and go back to appearance. And if I click on, I think it's here. Nope, it's on the other one. If I click on the image itself, I can now change this scaling. So I can change the scale of this to be, say, 10 foot by 10 foot. I can also stretch it out. So if I undo that, I can make it 10 foot by 20 foot and hit done, hit apply. And you'll notice now it's stretched out and it's a much larger image. So let's make that proportional again. So appearance. So let's put this back to 10 foot by 10 foot. I can also not repeat it, so I could just do none here and hit apply. And that'll only show it once. What's tricky is it might not be centered on my wall, so I might not see it at all. So I tend to always tile it. Or you need to work on your mapping, but I would recommend just tiling it and getting it to the right size there. And then hit done, hit apply. Okay. Okay, so that's our first one that's done. So now we might also want to change a few other materials here. Let's look at the floor inside our building. So actually, I'm going to change these other 3 walls. And maybe these ones I'll just change to one of the generic ones that's in here. So I'm going to make this a brick on metal stud. And I don't love that the brick is red, so that's pretty easy to change. So I'm going to click all of those, go to edit type, edit structure, and here where it says brick comment, I'm going to hit the three dots, go to appearance, and here if I click on this PNG file, it should bring up a whole bunch of materials from a material library. If that does not work on your computer, you can always download an image of bricks and do something very similar to what we just did before. I'm going to change this to maybe this like light brick and hit open, hit OK, hit OK, hit OK. Okay, so now I have to go with my corgis. All right, so I want to change the floor inside here. So I'm going to take my section box, and then you see these little two arrows that come up. I'm going to bring that in. And now it's easier for me to see inside my building. So now I want to change my flooring. If I select it, again, there should be some that I can just pick and use. So for example, I could change it to, let's see, what are my options? I actually don't have that many options here, but I could change it to wood joist. And then you would see there's like carpet on wood joist, so that's like a carpet pattern that's on there. I could change this to this wood finish, which is going to show more of like a wood in there. Or again, I could create a new pattern. So I'm going to create a new pattern. So I'm going to select this. And I'm going to start out with just my generic here. And I'm going to go to edit type. And over here, I'm going to edit my structure. So where it says structure, I'm going to change this to concrete. Concrete, cast in place. I'll just do lightweight here because I guess we're suspending this, right? So we probably have like a lightweight concrete deck. So let's do lightweight. Okay, and then let's make the thickness of that 4 inches. Once that's done, we also need to add a on top of here. So go insert, and then let's call this one LVT. And that's a luxury vinyl tile. So it's basically like a printed tile that can be whatever pattern you want. So I can't just write that in. Sorry, I have to make a new material. So I'm going to hit create a new material. Rename this as LVT. And then go to appearance. And then here I need to pick a new image. This time I'm going to go to the internet and I'm going to go to Armstrong LVT. And I'm going to look for one that I like. So if I look at this website, they'll have a whole bunch of different images that show what that material will look like. I'm going to do this kind of grayed out one here. And if I right click on here, I should be able to save this image. They might also have, let's see if they have a bigger version. Those are different colors. Sometimes they supply you with a texture. Let's just hit the plus sign, and then if you right click on here, you can save image as. And I'm going to save this to my desktop again. So I know that this, how big are these? Let's see, 6.5 inches wide by 48 inches long. So if I know this is 6.5 inches, then I know this is a little more than a foot. This is going to be a little bit more than 2 feet. So this is a foot 1 inch. This is going to be 2 feet 2 inches. So I kind of know what this square is. So I'm now going to go back into Revit. Click on here where it says no image selected. Go to my desktop where I saved it. Here's my image. Open that up. And here, when I click on here, I'm going to change the scaling to 2 feet 2 inches. And that way I know it's the right size. And then hit OK. Oops, I have to give it a thickness. So I'm going to give the thickness as 3/8 of an inch and hit OK. I forgot to add in structure under this. So just to start out with though, now you can kind of see how that floor is working out. My one thing I don't like about this is because I couldn't find like a really big version of it, it repeats a lot in kind of a weird way. So I could, to try to fix that, you can look for textures that are seamless. So if I search for LVT would look seamless texture, I don't love that color. I could fix it in Photoshop. So let's say we have like this one. I can save image as, save this one, and then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's say it's 6 times 6. So this is going to be 36 inches wide. Okay, so if I go back over to here, edit type, edit my structure, this top one, I'm going to edit the appearance here. Change the image to that new one I just downloaded. And then if I click on here, I'm going to change the sample size to 3 foot 6 inches. Sorry, that should be this one. This should be 3 foot 6 inches. And then the length of it, I'm going to assume each of these is about 4 foot long. So let's say it's 8, let's say it's 10 feet. That's too long. Let's make it 8 feet. I'm just kind of trying to get it to look less stretched out. Okay, done. Apply. So now if I look at it, it looks a lot cleaner, right? Like that texture is more seamless there. Okay. So I changed those floors, and those are all set. The last thing I might want to change is my roof. So if I select it, I'm going to pick a roof that's just already made. So I'm going to go with this insulation on metal deck, EPDM, and that's just going to give me a black roof. Okay. So now that I have this, I'm going to save. That was adding on materials, and then I'm going to stop this video and then make one for making 3D views.